What's going on, makers? It is so good to see you guys. Shout out to, God, everybody in the chat. Ava.
There's a lot of you.
Jenny, Austin, Monty, Zach, Nasana, Victor. It's good to see all of you. Julia,
Esteban.
hello from Amsterdam. Esteban, wonderful to see you. Kev Lev, did Ben ever finish his website? This year is the year. It is the year, sir. Irlanda says, hi, everyone. Irlanda, you're up first.
Oh, you're up, girl.
You're up first. Irene, hello. And Marco, man, great to see everybody here. Wonderful to see you guys. All right, let's get this thing kicked off, yeah? My name is Ben Burns. I'm a designer by trade, and I love making stuff. I mean, I have been making stuff since, God, I was a kid playing with Legos. I think that's where my love of like putting things together and designing things kind of came from. But currently my passion is to help creatives and creative thinkers just like you make a living on your own terms. And I coach and teach creatives how to find traction in their business and grow happier, healthier studios. Now, last decade for me, decade and a half actually, has been a wild ride. I went from being a design intern to a narcotics agent, to being a design freelancer, to starting my own studio, to joining an incredible team helping creatives all over the world. And now I have co-founded Maker Division with this amazing human being next to me, Stephanie Owens. Stephanie, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Stephanie Owens. I don't know why I'm here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a lettering artist out of Las Vegas, and I run an illustration studio with my husband, who is an illustrator. And we crossed paths in a kind of windy way. I did with Ben, just half a decade ago, Ben.
Yeah. It's been a while, yeah.
Shut up. Don't ask how old I am. And we just kind of saw some synergy in the types of things that he really excels at with helping people with their businesses, and the types of things that I was doing really well at my studio, Gold Sheep Design, and also helping other people do. Lead generation, portfolio development, kind of finding your creative voice, those types of things. So our powers combined, we founded Maker Division together, and it's been a lot of fun. And I am super excited to be here with all of you guys, looking at some of our members' websites and giving them some, probably light constructive feedback, because by this point we have put them through the ringer inside of Maker Division. This is the final checkpoint for module 7 of 10. So this is not the first thing that we've had them do. So looking forward to seeing how kind of all of the things that they've been working on through all the modules kind of culminates into these websites today.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know if you mentioned this, but Stephanie is an incredible lettering artist.
I said I was a lettering artist. I didn't say I was incredible. But thank you.
If you want to feel inspired, go check out her Instagram, because I go there frequently to go check out the lettering work.
It's not fonts. Let me just make that clear. People are like, oh, so you're a typesetter. No, all hand drawn. Thank you so much.
So Maker Division, for those of you who are curious, is a step-by-step blueprint and a coaching program that includes video content and resources, templates, community, real-world feedback on your work like you're going to see today, and then weekly coaching calls. And so far, we've been able to help folks generate hundreds of thousands, if not more, in revenue. And we see wins all the time. I mean, every single week, somebody's landing a $10,000, $15,000 project and beyond. And the goal here is to grow a studio that you're proud of, to grow a studio that like feeds you back, right? As much as you give it, it's giving you back. And we've figured out a way to do all of this and help our members for $99 a month. So all of the websites today have come from our Maker Division members. And as a member, you get to send us your work and we give you feedback. And we decided to do this in public because I mean, our members are just extremely talented. You'll see today one of our members here is a showcase winner, which is our award for creative excellence through the program. And we want to give them as much of a platform as we can. So if you want to learn more about Maker Division, head to makerdivision.com. We'd love to see you there. There's a 30-day guarantee, so it's zero risk. Go check it out. The community is amazing. Many of them are in the chat here, and they would love to welcome you aboard. All right, let's get down to business. Here's the deal. The purpose of having a portfolio is to bring in more work. Or at least that's our purpose in having a portfolio. I mean, anybody can have a portfolio for any reason, but that's what we're focused on today, right? Portfolios that you can use to get clients and maybe to get a job, but mostly focused on client work. So how are we going to evaluate these things? Well, we have some criteria. The first is, can we understand what you do? It's really simple, but the thing is that when you go to write the copy for your website, sometimes it can get a little confusing in your head. You know, those wires cross a little bit and you start getting a little too fancy with it. We just need a basic understanding of what you offer the world and what you can do for clients. Second, is there proof that you can do this? And that proof is just the body of work. You have to present work that's going to make people want to work with you. And that's what we call compelling proof, right? And that's the third criteria. It's like, is the proof compelling that enough that somebody's going to see that work and go, man, I would love to hire them, right? And so what do we mean by compelling? It's basically, do we have the context? Do we have the story? Is it easy to understand what happened? And then does it inspire that want or need to work with you? But there's one little bonus, and it's a thing that we kind of pay attention to. And in our last critique, we saw a lot of this. Steph, do you want to go over that little bonus?
Are we picking up your vibe? Do we know who you're trying to attract, and not just with the words, but with the work and every design decision that you've made on your website? I think that is one of the easiest ways to close a sale and make negotiations. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in like, I need to be really good at sales, but the more you can put out into the world the types of work that you want more of, the more you're going to attract that type of work. And if we can pick up the vibe of your entire studio, including copy, colors, the work itself, which is the most important part, it's going to make your studio really stand out in a way that clients will take notice of, and you will be the one that they want to work with rather than one of many. And it kind of makes negotiations a lot easier, kind of makes closing that sale a lot easier. And I say this from experience, not only in my own studio, but seeing it happen inside of Maker Division with our own members. Sales and negotiation is actually something we touch on very little, wouldn't you say, Ben, in the context of all of the curriculum? We do talk about it, but we really want you guys to put the kind of work out that attracts the people that you want, and it just makes you irresistible. And we do that with the vibe.
100%. Absolutely. Okay, so this whole critique thing, agreeing on a criteria can be the single best thing that makes a critique a good thing. So those 4 pieces of criteria I want you to keep in mind, and we'll put them up on screen here in a minute. But just to remind you, it's like, can we understand what you do? Is there proof that you can do this? Is the proof compelling, and do we catch your vibe? Those are the 4 points that we're going to be focusing on. Now, it can be a little tricky to figure out how to self-critique your work, because it's like sometimes, when you look at your work, you're like, I'm the best designer ever, or I'm the best illustrator ever. Or you look at it and like, oh my God, I should not own a camera right now. Like I should have never picked up a video setup in my life. That's more me. I look back at my portfolio and I'm like, this is horrible. Every single thing in here is horrible. So it's really difficult to kind of like critique your own work. And we're going to give you a framework that you can do that here in, we'll do two critiques first before we get there. But if you're running solo on this and you don't have anybody to give you feedback, we'll give you the framework for that here in a little bit. All right, I think we should dig in, yeah? All right, let's go here. And we should be able to see the screen now. There we go.
Like we are getting some comments. The music is maybe a little loud, so maybe can we?
Yeah, I just turned that off. Thanks, guys. Appreciate
awesome.
that.
Okay, I can't hear the music. I don't even know what you guys are seeing on your screens.
All right, so we've got the criteria up on the screen now, and we've got our first website to critique here. This is Benthic Studio, run by Irlanda.
And she is here. Hey,
she is here. Welcome.
She's been working hard on this.
Let's start digging in. Okay, so we open on we're setting vibes here with this hero, right? We got design that makes waves. She says, we are Benthic Studio, a California-based graphic design studio specializing in branding and illustration, with our clients featured in Vogue, Forbes, New York Times, Clio. A little bit of a brag there, a little bit of humble brag. This is good.
A bit of a flex.
I like it.
I love a logo flex.
This is good. Okay, so right off the bat, I would say it's very clear what you do if you read all the text.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key here. And where I'm starting to get the vibe of kind of who you are, especially like if I'm looking at your logo, maybe this is like mountains, or maybe this is like the waves at the beach. And then we've got this like video clip of waves at the beach. Like I'm starting to kind of feel what this is. I wish that I could see some examples of that branding and illustration right here at the top.
Me too.
Because some people are just not going to read every word, you know? There are readers and there are kind of skimmers. And most folks, I would say, are going to want to get that first impression from the start, right as it loads. So one small tweak is just to readjust your hero to show the work, and then move this kind of vibey video down on the page, deprioritize it a little bit. Now, I will say, getting into the work on scroll is fantastic. And so maybe it's just like, you know, giving it like a little bit more height so it peaks above the fold, which is the bottom bar here, the bottom of the browser. That's an old newspaper term.
Yeah, I think another way of doing that would be we are Benthic Studio, could be moved down, and we could have some work peak. Clients featured in. I love the idea of the logo flex above the fold because it is such a flex. But if we could get in some way some of that work peaking, that would help tremendously, because I agree with Ben. I know your work, and your work is amazing, and your work is a vibe. It like checks off all of the boxes, but I'm not seeing it right away. And I really wish that I was seeing it right away. Or could you illustrate some sort of wavy situation for you, like create your own hero banner from your own work rather than using something. I mean, it's like you're in San Diego. I know that it's definitely SoCal. You've got me there, but I just would love to see your work as well.
Absolutely. Because the work is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning. And I would say that the work is better than the clip of the waves. Just aesthetics. Okay, so we're going into a grid of work here, which is really nice. Looks like a book cover design. We've got some packaging design, some illustration. And so already, like this MISMA project here, already you've proven your claim that you can do branding and illustration, because I'm seeing branding and illustration. And so the grid here is really strong. I like it. I do wish that there was a little bit of contextual information around this stuff, because I kind of want to know maybe who the client was or the services before I click into it. So it could be something that pops up on hover, or it could be something that shows up below the thumbnail, that kind of thing. But, if somebody's interested in branding, for example, they might not know if this is branding or if this is branding, so kind of helps to give a little context there. All right, our services: branding, illustration, web design, and a la carte. Very nice. Okay, so these are service categories, and it looks like it links out to specific pages, but we'll start clicking into these links here in a second. This is really nice if somebody really needs some clarity around what you do and what they can hire you for. So, yeah, I got nothing bad to say about this.
No, it's very clean, very easy to navigate, and also just very easy to understand what you do. And even though you have more than one service, we often talk in Maker Division about like having your primary craft. I think it's graphic design. I think you said that right out the gate. But all of these services that you're providing are believable together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes it really easy for a client to wrap their head around this. It's like branding and illustration, as long as you can prove the illustration. Oftentimes I'll see people say they do branding and illustration, but there's no illustration in the portfolio. And illustration really is its own kind of beast. But especially with the work that you have, I haven't seen website design yet, but it's still believable to me as if I'm looking at this from the point of view of the client, because the branding work is strong, the illustration work is strong. And so we have, if you had thrown in like SEO marketing or something, and then I'd be like, wait, what? That's so like left field, but all of these are working really nicely together.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're in this section where we're kind of breaking the grid here, which to my eye gives us some visual relief from the really grid heavy stuff so far, which is really nice. We've got these overlapping elements. It's showcasing the work. I also love this headline: from bold branding to dreamy illustrations. Such a good description of the work. Mm-hmm. We've got everything you need to launch with purpose and artistry. So
love that.
You're indicating what kind of clients you want to work with from a value perspective, which I think is really powerful, right? You're saying, here's what I do, here's the style, and then here's who I want to work with. And if you share my values, we're going to be a great fit. So I think that's awesome. And then beautiful stuff here. Little social proof, what our clients are saying. These are all wonderful.
I like that you have the photos as well. And they don't always have to be, in my opinion, professional headshots, because it just shows the type of people you work with. Mm-hmm. And can I really, as a potential client, do I see myself fitting into the world of your studio? And I think including photos is a great way to do that.
Yep. From a layout perspective, when we get to, like, especially this one, Kellen's testimonial, I'm sure it reads like a dream. I'm sure she has glowing things to say about you, but it also kind of feels like homework to read. So what I would recommend is a couple of tweaks. First, highlight the best part of this testimonial. And so go in and grab the words that just absolutely encapsulate the good things that she had to say. Something like, "I'm so proud of the brand she's helped me create." That phrase is a fantastic hook into the testimonial, but it will, if it's surfaced as a header. So if you took that like quote, moved it up top, made it bigger and bolder, then somebody that's scanning the site can just grab that headline and move on, right? Without having to read the whole thing. The other tweak that I would make is anytime text gets really long like this, it can be difficult to follow and read line to line if it's not aligned on the right, especially for those like in English speaking countries, I would recommend, either slimming this down or getting that rag on the right and then aligned left.
I was going to say that's the left, Ben.
Yeah, a little dyslexia. It's okay. Don't worry
It's
about
okay.
it.
I do it all the time. I do it all the time too. We're just here to point out it. He did
Yeah.
say left. We get it.
So yeah, just make these a little bit easier to consume. And anything that looks like visual homework is probably not going to be consumed, which is a tragedy because I'm sure there's tons of good stuff in here.
And what you could also do is you could pull out the part that you really want people, like Ben said, to take note of. And it could be different things for different people. Like I'm seeing Kellen said that you were responsive to feedback. Joanna said the same thing. So maybe we don't need to hear that from both of them. Maybe one of them we lean into, you're receptive to feedback. The other one, it's you really grasp the audience, the voice, and the overall look, etc. So because oftentimes our clients will say the same things about us over and over and over again, but we can just choose. Like, it also will help you kind of overcome any kind of objections that potential clients might have. It's like, oh, I've worked with designers and they just never listen to me. Oh, this one, okay, I see. It says that they're listening to me. And by pointing out that one specific thing, you're helping the potential clients really kind of grasp your strengths from the point of view of other clients. And if you do just leave it as a big bank of text there, I am definitely a skimmer, even though I once upon a time was a copywriter. I do not read websites, and I would not read all of those testimonials. I'd be like, okay, cool. She's got clients saying nice things about her. So by slimming it down quite a bit, I think that's really going to help.
All right, going down, we've got this headline: Big Dreams, Bold Brands. Shall we? Again, I love it. I think it shows personality. It demonstrates what you do. And then the call to action here is to start a project. And I can see that it goes to a page called application. So we're going to check that out in a second. All right, going down to the footer.
There's one thing I'm missing from this page. Should we dig into that yet?
Please go for it.
Oh, and I am guilty of this as well. I would like to see Irlanda's beautiful face on this homepage somewhere. I like, especially when you're like a studio and not a huge agency with a lot of employees and a gang of freelancers. I know from working with you, Irlanda, that I would be working with you, and you're great, and I love you, and you are part of the vibe. You are part of what makes your studio so special. So I think I would like to see like a little note from the founder or something like that on the homepage at some point.
Yeah,
you and your
absolutely.
Cool pink hair, like you are part of the vibe. You are part of what makes this whole studio so special, like I said.
And so what if you're not into that? What if you're not into having a photo of yourself on the page? Maybe there's some folks.
Oh, you're an illustrator. You can illustrate yourself.
Yeah. I think that there's also a way that you can communicate like who you are, what your vibe is by sharing some kind of like shot of the culture that you've established in your space. Even a studio of one will have like aesthetic opinions about your workspace, about how you treat people. And so some visual way to kind of express that, where it's like, let me connect with the people, with the humans behind the brand is a great way to do this. We've seen a whole bunch of expressions. And I forget, I think was it Kevin? It was at Studio by Nas that had that really cool picture of himself. There was a motion blur. So all of his features were obscured, but it was like, you kind of got that feeling of like who this person is by the way that they portray themselves. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do this. And this is a good opportunity to be creative about expressing who you are.
I think if we go back to Kevin, I don't even think I really know what Kevin looks like, but I've seen his pictures so many times. And I think that's where you can be artsy and maybe a little more introverted or maybe mysterious about it. But I do think that attaching a human or humans to the studio There, see, I don't think I could point Kevin out in a crowd with the glasses but it helps. It helps me see that there is a human behind this. And also, if they're going to be getting on the phone and working with you and talking with you, and they're even talking about you, Yolanda, in the testimonials, I just kind of want to know who that is.
And you'll see this on a lot of larger studio websites, a lot of agency websites. They'll have that section for about us or for the culture on the homepage. And again, it's just all about communicating that vibe, communicating who you are, and helping the clients feel what it's like to be associated with you, to work with you, that kind of stuff. All right. It's good that you've got a CTA here right above the footer. I hope we see more of these throughout the site. And then when we get down to the footer, you've kept things super simple, which I love, but it's really nicely laid out. We've got some basic info and navigation stuff over here. Contact. It's wonderful that your email is easy to read. It's a mail to link, but hey, some people love mail to links. I personally can't stand them. But I will copy and paste all day.
But I would never, but I know because it's underlined not to click on that thing. I'll just copy it and put it into my email.
Yep. And then there's a free branding guide. So what we've got here is kind of a double CTA, which I think whenever you're trying to ask someone to make a decision, you run the risk of losing people. And so my suggestion here is to put some space in between your primary CTA and your secondary CTA. So what I would do here is move your testimonials down right above the footer, move the primary CTA up here, and then in the footer, you've got your free branding guide. And so that at least would reduce the amount of decision-making someone would have to make when they get here to this point. It's like, what big salmon color button do I pick? And that's going to be that. I think that you'll see a better conversion rate on both of them. I love that you have a free branding guide. I would be curious to see how well this performs with you or for you. And curious to see like what that would be. So that's interesting.
It'd be interesting to run an experiment, Irlanda, with a pop-up on exit intent for the branding guide with like a mock-up of what it looks like. Or I like to call it the money shot. What am I getting with this branding guide?
All right. So going back up, we've got navigation that includes work, services with a drop down. So brand identity, web design, and a la carte. About, blog, free guide, contact, and then the start a project button. So under services, I think one of the things that I noticed is that we've got brand identity, web design, and a la carte, but I'm not seeing illustration. Yeah. And there's so much illustration on the homepage that if somebody, kind of scanned the homepage real quick and was like, oh yeah, let me check out illustration, this might turn them away because it's just not here. And so I would definitely want to see that in your services menu.
I also might not understand what a la carte means if I'm from right there, if I'm a client. Now, I know you have it down further on your homepage where you can click and read more about what that could be. But I think right there by itself, I don't know what that would be unless I have something in mind. Like I always say, like annual reports. People always want annual reports. So I guess I might go there if I knew what I was looking for already.
Yeah. Agree. Okay, let's start at the end. Let's go to start a project. Let's see what this is all about. Okay, so we've got client application. Please use the form below to submit your project details and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. Can't wait to hear from you. Okay, I like the form. I think that the form is really nicely laid out. I don't like the way that it's framed. And I think it's the word application that's throwing me. Because what happens here is I've gone from the homepage to start a project. And I'm thinking that like I'm not ready to commit to something that requires an application at this point. And so I think just retitling it something that feels a little bit less committal might increase your completion rate on this form. And I think that this is it's just a wording thing for me. But immediately I'm like, oh, what am I committing to when I submit this thing? So we've got basic info, company name, where are you located, project needs, services. To me, this is a really long form. Like I said, I think it's like beautifully laid out, but it also kind of feels like homework. And
Okay, I have thoughts.
okay, go for it.
I have a long inquiry form, and I know why I do. Because I really don't want to work with a lot of people. So it's my way. And I know, and I'm not saying, Irlanda, that you've looked at my form. I have no idea if you've looked at my form. But sometimes people in Maker Division will say, like, well, I just looked at Steph's form. I use my lengthy form to see if people are legit and willing to put in the homework to work with me. I know that sounds maybe a little horrible, but that's just where I'm at in my business. It's like, you need to jump through this hoop if you want to work with me. So if you are at a place in your business where you have enough leads, you have enough business, and you're being very picky about who you want to work with, I say you can have homework forms. If you're not, and this is just a blanket statement for everyone, let's tighten it up and make it an easier ask from the potential client.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the other side of the coin that I was coming up on.
Sorry.
It's like the more complex a form is, the more difficult it is to fill out, the lower the conversion rate. And so if you're drowning in leads, then yeah, reducing some of that might be the right call. But one of the other aspects to this is a lot of folks are concerned that they're not good on the phone. They're not good in a sales ecosystem or a sales environment. Well, the only way that you get good is by doing it a lot. And so my advice to everybody is take the call, even if it's a bad fit, because then the good fit clients, the people who are perfect for your business are going to be immediately apparent, because they have none of the red flags, they have no warning signs, and you can immediately see like, hey, this person is perfect for me. Then when you get the reps in, and then when, leads become, it's like, oh man, I'm spending more time in sales calls than I am designing right now. Then it's time to like reduce that flow. But if this is an issue, if this is like if you're trying to generate leads and you're wondering if you're good in the sales call, take more sales calls. That's the best way.
There is a particular, I wouldn't even say it's an industry, type of business, very specific, that I will never work with. And there is nothing that made my confidence in saying my price and sticking to my values and my boundaries on a sales call than when, and this is a true story, when that particular type of business put an inquiry in with me. And this was in the beginning of my business when I was taking all the calls. And I knew, I was like, well, I already know from this intake form that it's a hard no. It is a hard no, but I took the call. I was gracious. I was polite. I heard them out. But I also, to be able to tell a client, no, we're not a good fit. And also they didn't have the budget to work with me. So it just made it so easy. You're going to get so good at sales calls by taking all of them. Because there's going to be some that are just bad. And you're like, oh God, no, I don't want to work with them. Absolutely not. And then you have to learn how to say it nicely that they're not a good fit. Internally, you're like, oh no, never.
All right. So let's go over to contact, and I'm curious to see what the difference is between those two. Oh, see, this is a great shot. I love seeing a human. This is the first time I've seen a human in this whole site, and it definitely warms everything up. So that made my heart feel good to see, a human being on screen
Oh,
here.
your lashes are lashing, girl. That's a very Steph thing to say. Sorry, Ben.
That's all right.
I had to acknowledge her lashes look great.
All right, so it says for inquiries or anything under the sun, based in sunny San Diego, serving thoughtful clients nationwide, studio hours, and then it's just basically an email box, right? We've got name, email, subject, and then message. I love this. This is super friendly. It's super easy to fill out, and it gives enough context on what the form is used for, and it's got an endpoint, which is this human right here. So really nice.
I'm curious why the two, like why the client intake form and why this kind of form here. So if you're able to see analytics on if someone's used one over the other, that can also tell you, which one people are leaning towards more. But this one, if people wanted to start a project with you, they could, and you're in the position where you are wanting to take all the sales calls, that one would work too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that having one form with more intent is a great way to reduce your quantity of leads that come in, if that's an issue for you. Until you're there, I think something simple like this would probably be better. And to be honest, I am, as a creative director, somebody who hires designers and hires illustrators, and I'm more likely to copy and paste your email address than I am to complete a form. And so I think just having some knowledge on like how your potential clients tend to prefer to work would be good here. And I know that you've got your email down in the footer, which is fantastic. So I think that would check the box for me. But I am less likely to fill out this form than just email you, and way less likely to fill out that longer form. Okay. Then we've got FAQs, which is really nice. I love seeing this because this will handle a lot of like price fishing and folks who are just trying to like figure out how low it can go or how long it takes. So I think you're doing a really good job at offering information up front so that, that handles a lot of the frivolous conversations that could happen. So I think that this is a great way to prevent those conversations from happening. There's a lot in here about websites, and I haven't seen website yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm noticing that. Maybe you've pivoted over the last couple of months and you just haven't cleaned that kind of stuff up yet. But I'm curious to see what the work is and to see if there are examples of web in there.
I know you've done web, but yeah, Ben's right. From the perspective of someone coming to the website, if someone wants website design, haven't checked that box off yet.
Let's talk about like the psychology of someone visiting a site like this. In my mind, the website is not the first point of contact that you have with a potential client, but it might be the second. And it's certainly not the last thing they visit before they pull the trigger, right? They're going to have a conversation. So typically the way it goes is they received a recommendation for you from somebody that they know. Maybe they received an email that you sent them as part of a cold or a warm outreach. Maybe they caught a post on social media and they're like, oh, let me look into this business. They've been exposed to you or your work in some form or fashion before they've hit the site. And then they go to the site.
I'll add.
Yeah, go.
I'll add. They could also have found a blog post, which does get them to the website first, but it's not in terms of for services. It's because they were looking for information that led them, instead of it being through social media, through the content on your website. So still on your website, which is great. I mean, that's like fantastic. but it's sort of like over here in the content world of your website and not the kind of the sales tools of your website.
Yep. Yeah. So then they find themselves on the website, and I think the majority of these folks, they're on the website to see if they want to take the next step, which is to reach out and contact you. And so what they're evaluating here is the work and your vibes. And so that's where it's like hard CTAs like this, like when you go to start a project and you've got that really lengthy form, I think it's too early because they might not have even formulated what they're trying to look for because they're in this kind of evaluation stage of the customer funnel where they're just kind of making sure that you're tall enough to ride the ride, that you're good enough to hire, and that you have examples of work that you want to, that makes them want to work with you. And so I think that's part of what's driving my reaction to that application form and some of the other stuff here. But just wanted to surface that for you guys. Okay, let's go to free guide. How to create a strong brand. I just want to take a moment here and kind of appreciate your color palette. It's beautiful. Like, you've done an awesome job here. Like the salmon tones, what would you call this? Like a
corally. It's more peach than
peach with the blue. This is the first time I'm seeing the blue in the mix, and it's really, really nice. Oh, see, look at the green. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so this is your lead magnet and the landing page that pushes people into this funnel. Looks fantastic. Look at this.
There she is.
Yeah, there she is.
I know that coffee shop. I do, because I've been there. San Diego kid.
Let's move this block onto the homepage. Just this whole section, copy and paste, done. Good to go. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I got nothing bad to say about this. This is really neat. I'm curious to see how this was functioning for you.
Yeah, let's chat about that inside of Maker Division. Because I feel like email lists are, especially where you're in module 8, a great way to nurture your leads. I'm curious, and this is a conversation that we can have, Orlando, if the free DIY branding guide is converting over to leads, or if it's getting people who want to do it themselves. So let's chat about that inside the community.
Cool. Okay, blog. Oh, snap. You guys, look at this.
She's doing it.
We've got recent articles. That's the first thing I look at when I look at blogs. It's like, how often
if you don't have recent articles, like moi, take the dates off.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This is 2024. Not 2025. Oh, man. I just read it wrong.
It's more recent than my blog.
It is more recent. All right.
Just take the dates off.
Let's just take the dates off. There's no reason to put dates on there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I totally saw 5/20 and was like, oh, wait a minute. That's close.
No, that's next month.
That's next month. So as far as the blog goes, I think that this is a really nice way to express your thoughts and post things on your site that don't really have a home anywhere else. So it's like special announcements. It could be like a year-end recap of work, and it can also be your thoughts on the industry. The which is what I'm seeing here. Things like 5 warning signs or top 6 free Canva fonts. These are things that would speak to those digital entrepreneurs that are kind of in that DIY mode. And so I like it. I just want to see more recent and more stuff that kind of shares your opinions and your vibes versus just value-driven content,
I'm wondering, and I know you keep them separate and I understand why, because I'm right there with you, Orlando, but I'm wondering if there's room on the blog for your YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
Because not necessarily, I don't think people will see your YouTube videos and be like, oh, I want to work with her for my logo or my website or whatever, because they very much are catered to creatives, right? You're talking about your journey as a creative. And oftentimes, as the first initial piece of content into a journey, I'm not going to call it a funnel, but like the client journey, it's more of a piece of content that is of a need or a value to them, where the stuff you're doing on YouTube is more of value to creatives. But if you put them on your website and someone's digging and they're like, oh, I don't really know if I want to work with this person. I've got these other people lined up. Oh, she's got some, oh, and this is her talking. And oh, I kind of like her. She's kind of cool. And oh, she's my vibe. I can definitely see myself working with her. She's very down to earth and fun. Um, or maybe it's, I know you dance. Maybe I have that same connection with you of like, oh, she dances, I dance, or I just think it's cool that she dances. Not necessarily anything very client stuff, but it's just more of like personal values and world building. Do I see myself in your world? And so maybe there's a place for them here. I'll let you make that final decision, but because I know it's like when you have personal content and you have a business brand, do they go together? And it's a tricky, very personal decision that you'll need to make, but something to consider.
No, I think that you're hitting on this, what I was trying to get to, and you said it much more eloquently than I. I think the blog is a great place for world building, like you said. And it doesn't always have to be educational content from a position of expertise, because I think that like there's a tendency to go that route, because that's what we hear and we see on YouTube, especially. It's like create content that educates your audience. But I think that people are more drawn to the people behind the brand and the funner side of things. And so you'll see like a lot of larger studios and big agencies, their blogs are full of like party recaps and awards recaps and the more interpersonal side of the business, because they're trying to shine a light on the humans that run the shop. And so I think that we can take a lot from that and have this as, there can be educational content in there as well. It's just like infuse more of yourself in the content. And I think that what Steph said, bringing in your YouTube videos and writing recaps on those videos would be a fantastic way to kind of two birds, one stone this. All right, I just want to check one thing on an article though. So 5 warning signs that you need to rebrand your small business. The covers were really nice. Like I think that like the graphics that you have for the blog thumbnails is really beautiful. It's on brand for you. Very nice. Okay, this is good.
It's a nice long piece.
Got some
bravo
number issues here, but it's probably a technical issue. There we go. This is what I was looking for. At the end of the article, we need a call to action. So if somebody were to Google like, when does my brand need a makeover? And they wound up on this page, you want to give them breadcrumbs on what to do next. And this is a really nice call to action that feels softer than start a project and fill out an application. So I like seeing this on the end of a blog post. And I think that this is a great way to pull in more leads. What you might want to do is mix it up and say, here's some examples of work, or check out this case study that I just published, and it's to whatever most recent case study that you have in there. Because I think that the buyer's journey from somebody who's coming in cold into an article is like, they'll read the article and they're going to wonder what you do. And then by leading them to a case study or to your portfolio, it's like you explain what they do. And then at the end of a case study, then it's click to book a free call. So it's kind of like guiding and nurturing someone through that customer journey from end to end. Okay, and then we've got our next article link. That's cool too. All right. Cool. Let's go to about. Again, the copy. Copy's speaking to me.
Really strong. It's really strong. I know you've been working on this a lot. We talked about this a couple coaching calls ago where it used to be I'm going to say it, generic, I help your business stand out. But everyone says that. And and you've done so much personal work, both in terms of actual personal projects mixed in with client projects, but also personal work on yourself, that I think the more you kind of tap into that side of things for all of us, the more you're able to really kind of write this type of copy. And I know you've been going through The Artist's Way, which is a book I highly recommend, which means you've probably been doing a lot of morning pages. And I think that's where your copywriting skills for yourself are just fantastic, Yolanda.
Yeah. Yep. So I love seeing this. I love the pattern that's behind this. This is one of the first times that I've seen this, illustration in use on the site, and I want to see more. I hope that there's more inside services and work of you using your work to decorate your site and to give people more vibes. I think this is really nice. As we scroll down, just one little note, the line length here is a little long. And so, I
knew you were going to say that. Yeah. It's a Benism. He says that about mine too, Orlando. It's okay. We'll fix it.
It can be difficult to track, and I would probably want to, cut this in half. So just squeeze it together, or make the type size bigger, right? That's a good way to reduce the line length. You can go full width for your text sections. It just has to be, the rule of thumb, I think, is 60 to 80 characters or something like that. That makes a legible paragraph. All right. Again, fantastic photo. It's good to see a human. It's good to see you, especially in this context. It's it just fits your vibe so well. It's a great photo.
You picked the perfect place. Every time I remember the first time I saw that photo, I was like, yeah, she picks the right place in San Diego for her studio.
Yep.
Even though I feel like you're changing things up a little bit with your personal brand. I know that's not the color of your hair anymore. So maybe I'm big on brand photos. Maybe time for a little bit of a refresh, but I still love that one.
I love this, things we believe in. I think that this is a fantastic way to position yourself separate from your competition. And so if there was somebody you were competing with that was a fantastic illustrator like you are, and that did branding as well, and they didn't believe in the same things that you believe in, this could attract clients to you based on the values that you portray. So I love seeing this. I think it's a great way to set yourself apart. And thumbs up here.
And even if you scroll all the way down, Vince, there's one thing that she did that I'm that is going to attract the right people. We acknowledge our presence on the unceded land of the Humayai people. Just those little moments, so purposeful, that will catch the right people. Yeah, your hair's blue now, girl. You gotta get some new photos. If your hair is that drastically different, speaking from someone who has been through this, time for some new photos.
I had blue hair one time.
Blue is, yes, I know. I think there's a difference between Irlanda's blue and punk rock 17-year-old Ben Blue.
I also had hair at one point.
Yeah, you also had hair.
All right.
He just doesn't like it that we're talking about hair, Irlanda. He feels left out.
Okay, so one potential issue, I'm clicking on services here and I'm not going to a page. And so just a minor tech issue. I think this is why I'm not a huge fan of drop downs, just because we kind of break the heuristic here that we've trained the user on all these other links. It's like, this should lead to a page. It doesn't. And so I think I would rather see a services page that then kind of linked out to these sub pages. But I think that that's probably more personal opinion than
I think it is.
actual.
I see what you're saying. I would click on services and be like, oh, I don't get to click on it. I'll go to the next one. It's not as big of a deal for me.
Yeah, personal preference. Pet peeve.
Personal preference.
Okay, so I clicked on brand identity design, and let's take a look. Customers want. Okay, so signature.
I like that you are in some way qualifying your clients. You are the expert on your business. You know what your customers want. That's like gets rid of a lot of people. Like, oh, I don't know what my customers want. You're setting it up, and I appreciate this. It's like I'm seeing clarity session, but you are not saying you are going to fix their brand. You are like, you already know, you are the expert on your business. You know what your customers want. I'm going to help you connect with them. I love that.
All right, so scrolling through, we've got kind of like a what's included thing. Oh, this is nice. From a web designer perspective, anytime we can break things up and break up visual pacing like this, features like this are like, ooh, eye candy. All right. So each one of these has a description, which is great. I think like for the most part, you're using language that makes sense to most people. I would flag that clarity session doesn't, but the fact that you have a description of what this is right below it kind of checks that box for me. And so I would caution anybody against kind of custom names that don't necessarily like explain what the service is unless you've got that description really, really close there.
Discovery is like a nice term that I think that clients would understand.
Mm-hmm. So typography suite, that's another one that I would flag that might be a little challenging to understand as is. And then mockups. Mockups are another kind of industry term that's really common for designers. Like we know what it is, but clients may not understand what that is. And so, for things like mockups and typography suite, I would use language that they're a little bit more familiar with. But again, I think your saving grace is that you've got a description there.
Font system, font selections. I would use the word font. It comes back to, we know the difference between fonts and typefaces. We know the difference between brand and visual identity design, but we have to speak the language of our clients. I do think that with the what's included, the image is difficult for me to understand how that relates back to what's included. So my brain immediately thinks, well, all of these things that are included are eventually going to land in a brand style guide. So could we include a mock-up of a style guide to kind of show people like the final end deliverable?
Yeah, and it could be like as you hover over these things, the image changes. Cool.
I like that too.
Also, the vibe of this image, maybe it's like the color, the tone, depth of field, something about it doesn't fit for me.
It's not as warm.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the rest of the brand, especially when you see these photos, which I would say have a lot better alignment to the brand. Yeah. This is nice, simple. The process: discover, design, delivery, and then you can read more here.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Gives people the context that they need.
Because you're going to have people that will want to read all of that, and then you're going to have people like me who are like, okay, that's the three steps. Cool.
Okay.
Reiterating. Nice.
I'm glad that you don't have pricing on the site. I'm not a huge fan of pricing packages or prepackaged services or anything like that. So I like the way that you've handled this here. But there's one glaring thing that's missing. And that's work.
Yeah, I would link back to all of your brand identity design case studies at some place, like so like see what you're capable to, so people can be like, okay, well here's, I know, and you probably have them all over in the work section of your site, but if you had like a check out these recent brand identity design projects, boom, 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 and then people could click on them and go directly to those case studies, that would be cool.
Yeah. And I would honestly put it right here under the header, full width, at least 3 projects. Cool. All right. So I'm assuming that these pages are very similar. But out of curiosity, I want to see what a la carte is. Okay, so thoughtful, elevated design for every touch point. No full rebrand design. Okay, so this is just design.
These are your leading services that we talk about in Maker Division, because not everyone, I mean, website design could also be that leading service, but this is like your graphic design. It's graphic design.
It's graphic design.
You might want to call it graphic design.
Yeah, clarity is key here, I think. And same issue here. I would just include work. You want examples there. But I was kind of hoping that the illustration would show up somewhere in here, and it didn't. So I'm mourning that. I want to see a services page dedicated to illustration.
You know me. I'm like, where is it? I always want to
show it to me. All right, a visual showcase of our latest client work. You guys, look at this grid.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful work. I'm gonna let Steph pick the first case study to tackle.
Go down. Scroll to the one right to the left of Little Moon.
This one? Human Cloud?
Yeah, Human Cloud.
Okay, so
I think this is a nice opportunity, like Ben was saying, where it hovers to just give the services as well.
Right below. Especially since like you don't have, the work on these services pages, it would be really nice to be able to filter or sort. Because somebody who's looking for illustration, we don't want to keep them guessing.
And you might even, because I think you have enough projects, Irlanda, if you could do some sort of sort at the beginning, like at the very top of all of the work, so people could sort it by service.
All right. Brand identity and website design for Human Cloud. Okay, so we're starting to see some web design here, which I'm excited to check out. Okay, we've got a really good kind of mission. It gives us context on who Human Cloud is and what they're trying to accomplish. And then we get right into the work. I like the mark. I will say it feels dramatically different than the vibes you've been communicating so far.
That's why I picked this one.
Did you?
Because I haven't seen it and it's so different. And this is where we get into that territory of what do you do with the work that is no longer your vibe, but you'll still take on the project. And this is another one of those tricky situations. It's, do you lean more into the vibe and get rid of the project and put it into what we are now calling a shadow portfolio? Thank you, Carl, in Maker Division, for giving us that name. It's like that. It's like a Dropbox filled with these types of things that you show to people who are looking for something like this. And you still will do this type of work as long as it's at the right rate and the people are nice. But it's just not the type of work that you want to showcase publicly because it is outside of your vibe that you're really leaning into, or you just let it go and you sacrifice vibe for showing more work. And it is a personal decision and I can't make that one for you.
The work though is really nice.
The work is nice.
I think like the mark is really creative. The cloud made out of these particles or dots is a really cool concept. I think like if I had to nitpick, it would be some of the kerning in this Human Cloud, the word could be improved, maybe tightening up around the U in both cases. But other than that, man, like the mark is cool. The color palette is really interesting. I love this like muted green, the muted blue, the muted kind of beige color, and then you've got this like neon green that screams in and grabs your attention. So I think that you're really strong with color, and you've demonstrated that throughout your portfolio. So I see the connecting lines. And what's nice is that like we get a really good view of the logo without context, and then we see it in context kind of immediately. So from a visual perspective, I think this is really nice.
And Erlanda, it could also, if you want this to be more on vibe, it could be the difference between, if you scroll all the way up, Ben, putting that logo on a different background color. It's just so dark. I think that's what's throwing me. It's like, so switch up the background color here and then scroll down, switch up the background color here to make it not so dark. Because this is the thing we need to remember. The clients, the work we delivered to the clients is not always the work that we have to showcase in its delivered form on our portfolio. We can take liberties with changing background colors and things like that to guide the creative direction that we want for our site. You are now using this project as a marketing asset for yourself. And so you can do things like change the background color. Even the background color is perfect for them. You could go with a lighter green, or you could go with that cream color instead to make it match your vibe more, just with some color switches.
Absolutely. That's a great tip. And the mock-ups that you choose.
And the mock-ups. Yeah, this is very like kind of cool, very corporate. Very corporate, very like, it's very just hard surfaces. So could we warm it up and just have it in a different mock-up? Yep. And that's a nice compromise between getting rid of it completely for the sake of the vibe and leaving it in as is if you wanted to rework it.
So web designers, I'm speaking directly to your face right now.
To your soul.
To your soul. I think one of the most challenging things in creating visuals for your case studies as a web designer is the balance between mock-ups and screenshots. And it seems to me that web designers kind of struggle with this. It's either all screens and it's really fatiguing visually, or it's all mock-ups and you can never really see the work. And what that tells me as a creative director, if you're wanting to work with larger agencies or studios, if all of your web design work is inside of a mock-up, it makes it difficult to see, which kind of makes me feel like you're not confident about it. And if all of your work is on screens, it kind of conveys a lack of passion. You know, if you're just grabbing screenshots from a Figma file, I don't get that vibe that you're absolutely passionate about what you're doing. And, I'm probably going to be fatigued by the end of it visually.
And a lack of empathy for the client as well, because when I see screenshots from Figma files, if I'm putting I'm a client hat on and not I'm in this world, I don't know what I'm looking at. And I think that also goes for, and you have not done this, Erlanda, but like sitemaps, wireframes. I know those are the things that are like available to you, but that's not what a client understands. But some clients, if they're direct to client and they just know that they need a website and they really don't know anything about websites other than they need a website, this might do the trick.
Yeah. Nice business card mock-up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is where I'm like, from a web design perspective, I'm not seeing enough to make a decision on this. But what I am seeing, there's a couple of cues that nod to this site being a bit dated in its design. The first cue is, the banded design. This is something that it felt like a lot of the WordPress themes of like 2013, 2014 really followed, where it was like, here's a hero section with a hard line, and then you go to a light color background with a hard line, and then you go to a dark color background with a hard line. And so you kind of see that start to come in through here. The other
You just described
indication,
my website, guys.
yeah, a little bit. The other indication is when you have a background image with a heavy overlay. I think we've kind of moved past that. And so anytime that you're designing a site that you're like, oh, let me throw a background image here and then put like a 20 or 30% black on top of it, there's probably a better way to design that section. And so I would move away from that. So just based on those two indications alone, I can see probably why this is contained in these mock-ups, and you're emphasizing more of the branding. And I would say that the branding is heads and shoulders stronger than the web design here. Okay. I'm also missing a little bit of story. I don't know. I don't think that this was designed as a full case study, but it was nice to see the context in the beginning. But I'm also kind of missing that case study, that narrative of the project.
Like, where'd you come up with the cloud idea? What did you learn from the clarity session? I think that's a good way of if you're gung-ho about calling it a clarity session, educating the client about what a clarity session is and why it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, that narrative, I think a lot of people overthink it. It doesn't have to be more than explaining the decisions that you made. You know, Steph said, where did that cloud come from? Well, again, why did you pick those colors? Why did you pick this typeface? Right? Connect those things back to the insights that you gained out of discovery, and that'll make a really, really solid case study in your portfolio. I also just wanted to shine a light on, like, this graphic here feels really on brand to you, and it brings this brand back into the Benthic Studio vibe. So I think what Steph was saying earlier is so on point. It's like, cater the visuals to fit your brand, to fit your vibe. All right, let's take a look at one more. Okay. I kind of want to do this one. And I chose this one because of this element right here. This illustrative mark. I am so in love with the way this looks. I mean, from just a branding perspective, being able to bring illustration to bear like this, it conveys so much personality. And I think that this is so representative. I get your vibe through this project.
Representative.
Yeah. Call your representative and report this stream.
Report Ben's lack of awareness of the English language.
Yeah. I talk good. All right. So, kind of digging deeper, like, I look at this brand and I'm like, man, this is, to me, the pinnacle of taking your two skills, branding and illustration, and using them both at their full capacity to create something that, like, it really looks amazing. I'm a huge fan of this mark.
Well, I mean, just think of look at the difference between, this is why I'm going to pound on my desk like I'm Dwight Schrute. I really support identity designers, people in the branding world, picking up skills like lettering and illustration, not necessarily to move into the world that I am moving into with product and licensing, but to just make your identity design work better and to make it stand out and to create something so special like this that is not as corporate as we're going to see things that, you know, you simply chose a typeface, but like I can tell that is a typeface, beautifully chosen typeface that really kind of blends with the line work of the mark. If you look at, like, the kind of heavier outline of the outside of the hair and face with the thinner strokes of the details in the face and the hair, and that's mimicked with the high contrast sans serif that you've chosen. Beautiful. And you only get to do that when you break away from doing everything with pre-made assets. Love it.
Yeah. And I love seeing like elements from the logo being pulled and used in patterns and other brand expressions. And, you know, this is not a one for one, you know, extraction from the hair, but it's in the same style. And I think that like when you view this as a composition as a whole, it's like, oh man, I understand what this brand is going for. I can get this. I can get the vibe here. So as we scroll down, we see this like bright pop of magenta. And I love that against the
look at that color palette.
Green.
So unexpected and so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's certainly a strong suit of yours, Irlanda. Color is well within your wheelhouse. Really nice to see how the identity system shrinks and grows depending on usage and size and all this kind of stuff. And again, it's nice to see isolated identity and logo design, and then logos in context. It kind of helps me understand how this brand is used in the real world. Got a site design. Really nice. Oh, this podcast player, or I'm not even sure what this would be used for. Maybe social media. Beautiful.
I'm thinking social media templates. Beautiful. Your choice of mock-ups for this project are really great as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very strong eye for art direction as a whole. And now I think you're at the point where now you need to make sure that the art direction for every project aligns with the art direction of your studio. And that's the tricky part. And you might have to hug some projects and thank them for their service and put them, as Zach says in the chat, in the attic.
And I would also just look at it like embracing your strengths too. You know, it's fantastic that you can do web design, but the way that I see it, you're incredibly strong in illustration and branding. And so I would focus the user's attention on the site on those two things. And that might mean getting rid of a couple of those projects, but I think that it'll be a stronger portfolio overall that's a little bit more focused and centered on your strength.
When you go through a creative journey, like what I know you've been going through, Irlanda, with the work you've been doing, not just in Maker Division, but on your own, because I follow you on Instagram, there is going to come a point where there are projects in your portfolio that no longer serve where you're moving, and it's okay to get rid of them, because that's the old us, right? And not everyone's going to go through that. Some people will be like, this is the work I do, and I separate the work I do from me personally. But I am of the school of my work as an extension of myself, and I think you are as well, Erlinda. So it might be time to just reevaluate some things in the portfolio. Simplify.
Yep. All right, last tip before we move on to Stacy's. Whenever you have mock-ups, and I've been guilty of this, so, you know, I hear you, and big hugs. But get rid of all of the lorem ipsum. There's so much potential with, you could jump into Chat GPT and have it generate some example copy. But I would scrub that, because my eye immediately went to that word right there in this project, which I want it to go to, the beautiful work that you did. And, sometimes it happens. The other day I presented work to a client that had some placeholder stuff in it that shouldn't happen. And I went pixel blind. I was like, I didn't even see it. And it happens, but it might be good to have a list of like a final quality control list of actions that you do before you hit published. It's like, does any of my images have placeholder copy in it? Lorem ipsum. No? Check. Then you move on.
Okay, I've lettered things and forgotten a letter in a word. I don't get paid to spell. I get paid to letter and draw. I just was like, oh, I'm missing an R. Had to go check it. I bet the Samuel Jackson Lorem ipsum is wild.
Yeah. Hey, I've used Lord of the Rings.
You used Star
LOTR
Wars.
ipsum and Star Wars.
You used Star Wars, yeah.
Really nice, Irlanda. You're in a great spot. I think we're just nitpicking and refining the vibes overall. Hopefully you got some value out of this, and it was a deep dive just because the site was so deep.
You had a lot, yeah.
So nicely done. All right, moving on.
Ooh.
We've got a new website here. Stacy, you want to tell people a little bit about Stacy?
Stacy is amazing. Stacy is one of our showcase winners from 2024, meaning she was one of 10 makers inside of Maker Division who we chose as work just being a cut above, just extraordinary attention to her craft. And I think the tricky thing for Stacy as an illustrator is living in multiple worlds of client services, art licensing, and shop. So I am interested to see how and if she tackled all of that within one website so I can take notes. No, just kidding. Because I do think it's possible. I just think that it is a very tricky thing to do when a website is going to serve multiple purposes, where licensing and client services sort of live in the same world, but they're different. And then we've got the shop, which is a totally different world, but I do see that you have a shop. So I'm interested to see how this all works together.
Yeah. Newsflash, folks. We're going to just shower appreciation onto the actual work itself. The illustration work is beautiful throughout this portfolio. I think we'll spend most of the time talking about the site, or at least I will. Okay. So I think right off the bat, like, it's nice that we're seeing work. I think that this is a great way to lead with the strength. It's like, man, this is beautiful stuff. This is it watercolor? I can't really tell what it is, but it's just phenomenal work here. I guess the hero copy feels a little long, so I'm gonna read it out loud, and you guys tell me. Stacy Sue is a botanical and wildlife illustrator based in Seattle, Washington, specializing in intricate illustrations and patterns that connect people to the beauty of the wild. Feels like a long sentence. It makes sense. It's one of those things where, like, all the words are, you're not using any kind of industry jargon. I'm not confused by it. This seems a little lengthy, and I would hesitate to recommend a hero statement that's this long, because this is probably not how you would introduce yourself to people in the real world. So I'm wondering if we could just tighten that up a little bit.
I've got it. Stacy Sue is a botanical and wildlife illustrator and surface designer that connects people to the beauty of the world. That's it.
Love it. Yeah.
I think you've just got some things that you can take out. Seattle, I don't think that's absolutely necessary to your narrative. I think it's cool for world building. I think you're one of those people that, like, you are surrounded physically by the world that inspires your art, and I think that's really cool, but I think we can get that in somewhere else. But then we've got illustrations, illustrator, we're repeating some things, so I just think if you put illustrator and surface designer, I think that's a really important phrase for you. We can get rid of patterns, and then that way we can just get rid of, like, 2 whole lines of text there.
And you could also refocus it on the work too. So it could be something that, like, it's intricate botanical and wildlife illustrations that connect people to the beauty of the wild, right? So it's like, if you want to point the focus on the work, you can do that in a shorter fashion by cutting out the other things. All right. I like that your first call to action button is to view work. I think that too many folks in the hero section jump right to start a project. And I think that that's a little bit like asking somebody to marry you on the first date. And so Stacy, I think you did a great job at going like, hey, go check out my work. Then we've got more work. We've got latest projects, which is fantastic. And look at how beautiful this stuff is, guys.
My only challenge with this section is seeing your work this small. Your work deserves to be bigger. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. It's because once you see the work bigger, you really have an appreciation. So I'm just wondering if maybe it's like a scroll of 2 and each square is bigger. Maybe the white border around each is a little smaller. I don't know. I'm just wondering of how we can see the work bigger so we can really appreciate the details. Because if I'm hiring you to design a mural for wallpaper, I'm going to want to see those details. And I see your work on large scale pieces.
Yeah, totally agree.
Oh my gosh, so pretty.
Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, so this is really nice. Like Steph said in the beginning, it's kind of difficult when you have a studio that does multiple things, that has multiple business models, right? Commissioning, licensing, and then shopping products. I like seeing this here, where it's a breakdown of how you can engage with this business. And it gives me really clear and concise routes to work with you.
I think I would like to see an example of a commissioned piece. I feel like that it's just missing, and my brain thinks like, is there supposed to be an image there? Because licensing, I see we've got beautiful cards, we've got the shopping products, but is there a piece that you were commissioned to create that you could put in that spot?
Oh, I could see where that is coming from too, because we've got an image above licensing and an image above shop my products,
and they coordinate.
Yeah, so wondering if there was intended to be an image there, or if this was just kind of like, let me decorate this space, kind of control the pacing a little bit, go from there.
The Merriam Bright on my screen looks a little blurry. Is it just me and my screen?
I think it's got some aliasing. It's a little pixelated. Yeah, could do with a touch up and a re-export.
Yeah. Oh, the pups. I love your pups.
What a great photo. This is everything I need to know about you. You've got a little nature in there, vibrant colors. You've got your doggos, your smiling, cheerful, happy person. And then you've got your work, which is great. Subscribe.
Okay. I think the only thing with the subscribe is I would like to know, like, what am I getting? Am I like, is it a bi-weekly, bi-monthly? Like, what do you talk about in your newsletter? Who's it catered to? Is it, for updates from the shop or exclusive merch drops from the shop or just something like that? Just, and I'm probably giving this to you when you're like, I don't know yet. So just think about that. What's going to be the purpose of that list that you're building? But I love that you're building a list.
One thing I'm noticing is that, like, anytime I see black text, it kind of pulls me out of your world. I would keep the tone on tone vibes throughout. And I think that a lot of people are like, they might be concerned about legibility. But this text is very legible, like that red on or that, is it salmon on these darker backgrounds. I think that there's a way that you could continue that like tone on tone feel. Because every time I see that hard black text, it just like pulls me out of
You also,
your world.
she has her name in a kind of a in a blue. I'm wondering if she
Mm-hmm.
just switches it to like a deeper blue
Yep.
instead of black. Because you also don't, except for the one alphabet animals, you don't really illustrate with black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's something to think about there. Maybe we switch it to a blue
Yep.
or a green or something that's more, you know, your world.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, we want to make sure that the site is accessible and follow all the accessibility guidelines. But again, there's ways that we can meet all of those needs while still maintaining that vibe of just vibrancy throughout. Okay, let's go to work next. Okay, so we've got a grid of work with the title below, and then we've got a little zoom effect on hover. Honestly, I would say even here, you may want to just reduce this to 2 columns so we could see that work at a larger scale, especially pieces like this where there's so much intricate detail and like this. And then on hover, maybe zoom in.
Have it
Maybe
be
offer
like a detail shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
like offer that viewer a way to really experience the detail of the work. Wow. Volume.
Scroll up. I think if we're going to think about as well who you want to work with and what your goals are right now, Stacy, if you want more surface pattern design work, get a repeating pattern in the top. So I'm just throwing it out. If you're like, I want to get more kind of licensing deals for my patterns, but I also wouldn't mind doing some large scale murals, get a mural and a pattern at the very top. Lead with what you want more of. Or maybe it's gift card, like maybe it's greeting cards. Put your greeting card collection up top.
Mm-hmm.
And the more work that you have, and this will be a something that you and I can work on together inside of Maker Division. The more work you have, the more you're going to need to put things in collections and have it be more easily sorted. But I think right now the size of your portfolio is workable. But the more work you create as an illustrator who's also moving into the licensing world as well, you're just going to have so much work that we're going to have to figure out a way to categorize it in a way that's easy to navigate, and we'll work on that together.
I'm also curious as to what's a commission versus what's licensable. If I read the description on your homepage and then I come to the work page, I'm probably gonna want to know the difference. And grouping things by business model might help too.
And this is where you could put in your navigation, you could put client portfolio, licensing library as 2 different tabs. You could also, when you like, if you click on pollinator's garden, it could have like a little tag in it for now that if since it appears that your licensing library isn't huge. Gosh, I love the way she lays things out. You could have like a little badge on it that says like available for licensing or something like that, just to indicate for now before we start really separating it out between like client portfolio, licensing portfolio.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are like, what's the difference between the two? The client portfolio is someone came to you and you were commissioned to create something specifically for them, where the licensing portfolio is work that you create without a client that you pitch to get onto fabric, greeting cards, wrapping paper, etc.
I think you just blew people's minds there. Like if somebody's coming in cold and they're like, I just want to make stuff. I just want to be an artist.
And you want to be in camp. You want to be in Camp Stephanie.
You're telling me that I can make stuff and then sell it to people?
Yeah. You can do really well.
All right, let's I'm gonna pick the first one here. I really like this mushroom melody
It's so
medley.
pretty.
Look at
Love
that.
that you're showing colorways.
Oh, it's more than one pattern. This is really nice.
So it looks like you've got a hero and a secondary. Nice. You might want to add a blender into this, Stacy, and have it be like I feel like if you just add one more pattern that's a blender. And blenders for you are probably going to be the hardest because you're so strong with heroes and secondary patterns that if you did a blender that was just something so simple to go with these three, and then you'd have a nice collection of four. I think that would make this collection as a whole more marketable. But you might actually want to call this the Mushroom Medley Collection on the other page so people can
Mm.
see that it's a collection.
Yeah, because I think there was only one of these that was visible from the thumbnail. Um, and I was surprised and delighted to see that there's three varieties here. Okay, so site design perspective. The nav bar is really not working for me. I was curious to see how it would evolve over time. And I think like the background with the gradient here is for legibility reasons. But I think that when you're working with a full page background color, like a solid background color like this does not appear like a frame. It just kind of appears like this div, this block is just kind of like floating there. And so what you might want to do is like explore ways to just make a frame around your entire site when it first loads. And then as you scroll, the frame expands and disappears out of view. And outside of the frame can be your nav bar. It can be like the Stacy Sue, the nav links, the shop link, the social media, all that kind of stuff can be on top of the frame. And so that way it gives it a visual reason for like expanding out and scrolling off of the site. But anything in design that like distracts me from the focal point, I want to call out. And that's what this does here. This background, it's a little bit distracting because it changes all the time. I also think we need more context about this. Now, illustrators are not always going to have a full case study for every single piece, especially in the licensing world. And I'll let like Steph talk about that in a sec. But from a creative director standpoint, or just like a average user, I just need some context to know what this was, why it was created, where I can I buy this, can I use it, can I license it? I need something to give me some information outside of like, oh, this is beautiful work.
Yeah. In the world of licensing, we actually don't want case studies. We want collections, and that's what you have. But I do think there's a place for the story of the collection, what inspired you. And this is, I mean, this is where you could very easily create a blog where you are going into, you going out into the forest and on a field trip gathering imagery and you in your sketch process and stuff like that, and put that on a blog for people who want to learn more about, your world. But in terms of pitching this as a collection for licensing, I do think that you could do a very quick write-up, few sentences about what inspired this particular collection. But it doesn't need to be anything. This is very different than the world of case studies. But I do think at the very top, having some sort of write-up, yeah. And if we're really getting into the world of licensing, your collection having a logo that you design to go with the collection will strengthen the collection. But these are just things like to work on as we go. But having some sort of really cool, once again, lettered logo of Mushroom Medley with maybe some mushrooms around it or something like that would strengthen it as well.
Yep.
Because then it's like you're branding each individual collection.
So for the mock-ups too, one of the things that I'm noticing is that like I think the mock-ups could be improved a little bit, in consistency overall. And I'm seeing these beautiful patterns staged in kind of cold environments that don't really feel like home to me. And I'm wondering if there's other better mock-ups that we can use. And I think that especially, Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, but like especially in the licensing world, being able to see it in use and being drawn to that in use is what's going to sell this. And I would want better marketing graphics for my collection.
Yeah, I think this is also, I'm going to try to not go too long on this because I have so many thoughts. This is where if you're pitching it to a particular industry, so say like the stationery industry, you're going to create mock-ups. I want to see multiple mock-ups of things like that notepad, but I want to see it bigger because at that size, I'm losing. It could be little people dancing at that size. Like, I don't know what I'm looking at. But the rest of these are irrelevant for that world. But what else could you put? You could do gift bags. You could do journals, like if it's paper goods. And then you have a pitch deck for that. And then you have a pitch deck for maybe this is kitchenware and homeware. Then I'm going to see like, I want more of the plates. But then if it's fabrics, I want more of fabrics. But here's the coolest part about fabrics is you put this stuff up on Spoonflower and you order some fabric. If you have the budget, you could hire some people to actually make stuff for you out of the fabric and take photos. There's like so much you can do with licensing to elevate it. But baby steps, I think for you, Stacy, is going to be when you pitch this, because that's the majority of how people get their work licensed, is by pitching it and through cold emails, is really catering the collection itself and the mock-ups to the industry that you are pitching to. So you may end up with a deck that has your collections ready for gifting. You may have one that's ready for fabric. You may have one that's ready for paper goods. And all three of those have the same collections and they just have different mock-ups. But for your website, like Ben was saying, all of those mock-ups should live together for ease of using it on your website.
That's great tips. I want to showcase one example of where the tone on tone just doesn't work. These colors, in my eyes, are just buzzing. Like they're very difficult to read. That blue on this salmon is very, very difficult to read. And so I would switch that up. So you got to be careful with tone on tone, but when you get it right, it's a vibe.
I just switch it to the darker salmon color there.
Yeah. I also have thoughts on the nav. I do think that the nav is a little tall. I don't think that this is really valuable screen real estate. And I don't think it's serving you to have this much of it up here dedicated towards the header. I think your socials can drop down to your footer because in my mind, socials come first. Like they come in through the social media, then they land on your website, and we don't want to send them out back into the world of distractions. So my vote would be send those down to the footer. Then your name can be over here. The links could be next to the button. Everything could be shortened and minimized because what matters is this stuff. What matters is the work. And so we need to allow the work to take up more of that vital screen real estate up here.
If we go back to work, I'm wondering, and Stacy, you're here, and I know we've got a bit of a lag on our stream, but could you let me know if any of these are client commissions or if these are all licensable? Because if these are all licensable, that changes my feedback.
Yeah.
Completely.
Because then
we need to really lean in on these are my collections to be licensed in the messaging, etc.
Yeah. While you're working on that, letting us know, Mark has a great tip. He says, I'd love to see mock-ups that feel more like lifestyle photography, more smiling faces and people. I'd say I think that's a fantastic tip, minus the faces. I think that if you include faces are typically a magnet for your eyeballs, and I would want to keep the focus on the work. But I think showing people hands at work, or people in the mix, maybe motion blur, that kind of thing. It would do a lot to kind of humanize things.
I think in terms of pitching this for licensing, there is a fine line, because you really truly want to showcase what the work looks like on product. So if you want to get a little more fancy, you could put your work, print on demand it onto some products, and take your own photos yourself. And then that way you're 100% in charge of the creative direction of those photos. But for licensing, mockups also work really well. Like, I know people who just use the types of mockups that Stacy has, and they're making a killing. Because it really, like, the number one most important thing is the work itself. But I do love a good brand photo shoot. And I think a low-hanging fruit way of doing that instead of mockups would be using some print on demand stuff. You're not always going to get the best quality, but you will be able to see what it looks like on fabric. You'll be able to see what it looks like on a mug in a particular environment. And that could, for you, Stacy, be a really cool way of, maybe it's you holding a mug out in the middle of the forest, right? Incorporating the environment and the world building that you're trying to come across. You did get your first commission this year. Awesome. This is all personal work. We need to, this changes. This is all licensed. These are your collections. So instead of work, we're going to call it collections. And there should be some sort of copy, very simple at the top, that letting people know that these are all collections that are licensable. That's it. Collections. Oh, you're going to do the fancy thing where you change the word.
Boom. Done. I mean, you have to change it, but yeah.
Yeah. It's your collections. And then what you could do, the more so many of them are botanicals, but you could start, I feel like they're all botanicals, so never mind. You do have some Christmas. People always want Christmas. You do have Christmas. You might want to move holiday and seasonal up to the top. Let's see what's in there. Separate these into different holidays, seasons. Looks like we've got some fall. Looks like we've got some winter. Looks like we've got some
the doves
fall
are
and winter.
Easter, right?
Spring, maybe.
Spring.
You might.
Fall.
I would definitely,
fall.
Because people will be looking for different seasons, and none of these are like obviously Christmas. I don't think any of it is holiday, because merry and bright can still be winter. There's a difference between winter and Christmas. I would separate. You've got your winter collection, you've got your fall collection, and then looks like you've got like your spring pieces. Spring or summer. I would separate those into distinct collections and give them names. And it could be the Merry and Bright collection. And look, you already have a logo for that one because you already lettered it.
Stacy, what you might want to do from a web perspective is see if there's anybody in the community who would be willing to barter with you. Because I can tell you from experience being a web designer, one of the biggest challenges is designing a site that has no assets, no visual assets. I mean, any web designer in the chat will tell you it's like trying to drag good photographs and illustrations and stuff like that out of our clients is the biggest challenge. And so what you might want to do is buddy up with someone who is really passionate about these kind of illustrations or the same values, because what you could do is like there's tons of things that could accentuate these illustrations, like being able to see it in full width, having a magnifying glass where you could, scroll around and see all the details and stuff like that. Things that I wouldn't expect you to know how to do or even ideate these things, but a web designer could take one look at this catalog, this library, and go like, oh yeah, I've got all these like feature ideas that we could use to really showcase the work brilliantly. And I see incredible opportunities with your body of work here.
Casey, you need to let her more, girl. Go down to that. Woo. Ben knows I am picky when it comes to scripts and connecting strokes. I'm like, you need to let her more. That'll make the overall portfolio more marketable from a pitching for licensing perspective. And what you could do is if you're feeling like you don't have enough work for, say, the spring collection, just create other colorways. Just create one or two more colorways to expand the perceived amount of work. And it also shows potential licensees that you know how to change the color of things and are up to doing that, because they'll often ask for that.
Couldn't you, and this is where my knowledge of this kind of falls flat, but couldn't she also pull some of the subjects from these things to pull into
have motifs? Yeah, like single illustration motifs. Absolutely. So for instance, if I'm looking at the Washington State symbols, click on that one. Oh yeah, she's got them. Yeah, so you could in your licensing library have this, but then also have it be, yeah, like that. And then I would do the pattern and it like just change the background color like you did with the blue and kind of show the two different colorways that way.
But couldn't she pull like some of these flowers and fruits into like a spring thing too?
Absolutely. You do get into, you would just need to make sure if you're pulling motifs across collections and one collection gets picked up, you just need to make sure that in the licensing agreement, they know, or that just with the exclusivity and things like that, that it is for that collection and not individual motifs in that collection, because you may have used a motif across in a different collection. But that's more of a in the negotiation process, letting them know, like, for instance, if you scroll down and they're like the beaver or the flower, like if that flower is in a spring collection, and I think you could probably do an entire pattern of just that flower, maybe with the peaches as an addition to this collection, just to give it more weight. But if you do take the flower and you move it into a different collection over in spring, there could be some exclusivity issues in the licensing process.
Makes sense. All right. Moving over to services. I love your using your patterns here in the header.
Pretty.
Just so pretty. And this again is where that nav bar just kind of gets in the way. And I think that strategy of having a frame around the site, putting that nav bar outside of the frame would allow that pattern to shine through. Because this is what I want to see. This is what I'm here for. Okay, illustration services rooted in nature and places. Love that. Whoa, okay. So what's this?
So
We've got something new. It's a mural. Interesting.
Oh, you could do a case study on that, Stacy, and that could be the piece that was missing from your homepage where it says commissions. It could be this.
Mm-hmm. Publishing and editorials. Licensing. Home decor. Custom illustration. I think some basic type tweaks, like tightening up these paragraphs here a little bit, giving the sections that are on the right that have like a proximity to the images, giving that a little bit more white space. And I'd be totally fine with what we've got going on here. I like that there's a link under each section depending on, what each section talks about. Like, it makes sense to contact you for site specific design. It also makes sense to be able to see your licensing library. The thing is that there's kind of a disconnect for me between your main navigation and what I'm seeing on this page. And so there was a link that popped up here, this licensing library link, that I'm curious to see. Okay, so this is different than the work link here. And I love that there's filters.
Yes. That's what I was looking for.
And there's quite a bit more.
These look like your tear sheets for the collections. Can you click on them?
Sure.
There's the description. Yeah. I think we combine it all, Stacy. There's too many places, and now I'm seeing like all of it.
I mean, there's 3 pages of this.
Yeah, you have, okay, so you are at the point where you have a lot of work, but like you said, none of it that's currently on your site is the commissioned work. So I think right now you combine everything. You combine the best parts of both of the portfolios into one licensing library. Instead of calling it work, it's your collections. And then when you have the commissioned work, you could put client portfolio, licensing portfolio. Then it's because the people who are there for the licensing portfolio, they will know to click on licensing portfolio. If they want a commission, they'll know to click on client work, or they might want to see both.
Yeah. So,
but I think right now we just need to combine them.
And I would do collections and have something like a page like this that has everything, and then commissions instead of services. And I would just leave services off. And that way you can showcase all of the collections that you've designed in the past. And then on your commissions page, it can be information about what it takes to sign up or what it takes to hire you for a commission. And then you can also put your specific commissioned examples on that page. And so I think that would probably be the way that I would organize things from a, hey, does this make sense to the average person litmus test?
And I think your homepage needs to reflect those things as well in some way. It's like there should be a section that talks about how you have a licensing library. There should be a section that talks about how you have commissions and that you have that shop. So it might just be a tweaking of that section that you already have.
Yep. And so if this becomes the commissions page, then, information about the commissions on the top, how you can hire Stacy, and then have the specific services below, like site specific design, publishing and editorials. I think that would be great for that page. So it's like, here's the way that you can hire me. Here's what I want to be hired for. And here's some examples of how I've been hired in the past. And then everything else, like the licensing, the home decor, custom illustration. Well, custom illustration would be on that commissions page too, but home decor feels like, oh, that belongs in your collections.
Yeah, it feels to me like that one is an extension of the licensing library, but you might have an interior designer who needs to reach out to you because they want you to create a custom mural for a restaurant in Seattle. That's where the custom illustrations comes in. It's like specifically, well, it would actually be the site one, but maybe it's wallpaper for some bougie client who wants one-of-a-kind wallpaper. They're out there. So I think having the 3, it's like on-site work, publishing an editorial, and then like other just custom illustrations. You have something else in mind, contact me.
All right, going to the About page. Look at this. This is awesome.
Love it.
So much personality. Nice bio. Logo quilt. Some testimonials. Very cool.
There
Now
you
look at
go.
this.
There's
This
the
is super
three.
clear right
There's the
here.
three. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
This is your new nav.
And once you have
Collections,
that first commission, switch
commissions,
out switch out the image so you have it as like a custom commission you did.
and then shop. That's what the new nav is. Collections, commissions, shop, about, contact. Cool. Contact page. It exists. There's an email there. There's a solid form here that's not too lengthy. This is Ben Burns approved here. It would be nice to see a pattern, like
I was just thinking that
if there was some personality on this page or a picture of you, something to kind of like keep this page as interesting as the rest of the site. That would be good.
How did you find out about me? Because you are very much a you. I don't think you are the royal we, the royal us. I would put me.
Yep. And then shop. And that takes us to what I'm assuming is like a Shopify store or something like this. Beautiful. Look at you go.
So pretty. So you have these products. You already have them. Order them from yourself. If these are print on demand. I don't know if they are or not. But if they're print on demand, order a couple at your price and take some photos of it for your collections. Because I'm seeing the same patterns that are available for license. Take some of your own photos. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Nice. This is super cool. A lot of we graphic designers are very jealous of illustrators who can stand up a store like this. All right.
You are the future, Stacy.
Stacy, I think that the body of work is the most impressive thing about the site. I think there's little tweaks to the site design that can be made. I think some substantial changes to the navigation of the site are in order. But man, I'm continually floored by the quality and quantity of your work. So really nicely done. All right, Steph, should we tell the people about how to rate their own work, how to critique their own body of work?
Yeah, let's go into that. So the first question, there's three, but I'm gonna put in an optional fourth one because so many of you are in Maker Division. The first one of these is, does the work that I have in my, like, this is where I want you to get all of your work, put it all into one place where you can see it all together. It can be on a Pinterest board, Figma board. I don't care. And just look at it as a whole. Is there any that stand out as the quality of the work is just not where you are right now? Maybe it's older and you've grown, you've taken some classes, you've put in more reps, the more reps you put in, like, I'm pretty sure, unless she's even better than we thought, Stacy's very first attempt at illustrating a flower does not look like what today's Stacy's flowers look like today. So is there anything that just looks different? Looks like it's just not standing up to the rest of your work. Now it's time to take those pieces, give them a hug, thank them for their service, and put them in the attic. It's just time to get rid of things because we do grow as creatives, and our first go at things, our first portfolio pieces are not going to be as strong as the ones we do later, especially if we're putting in the reps like we encourage you to do. Now, the next one is going to be, now you have probably a smaller set if you're working with a large body of work. Did you enjoy working on this project from like and there's different layers of working on a product. Did you enjoy if it was a client product, did you enjoy the client? Because guarantee you, if you put work out where you didn't enjoy the client, guess what types of clients it's going to attract? Same types of clients. So maybe the project was nice, but just like the client, we were like, oh my God, I don't want to work with those types of people anymore. It's time to get rid of it. Maybe you just like there came a time for me when I decided I really didn't like working on websites anymore. And yes, I got rid of all of them from my website, unless there was an identity design attached to it. I just got rid of the one-off website work because we grow. There are certain things that we just no longer want to do in our business. And the more services you offer, and you guys have seen this today, the more you really do have to prove. And the more services you offer, the more complicated your business can be to clients as well. So we want to streamline. That should leave you with maybe a smaller body of work. From there, we're going to look at, would you want to get hired to do this again? If the answer is no, you got to get rid of it, because if it's in your portfolio, guess what you're going to get more of? What's in your portfolio. Now, if you have a bunch of, I always use annual reports because they're so boring and people pay you so much money for them. But you're like, I really don't want to attract more annual reports. I'm not telling you to get rid of it completely. I'm telling you to put it in that, what we're now calling the shadow portfolio. It's the archive, because I also understand that in certain times you need the money and you're going to take on those projects that you don't want to do, that don't light your fire, but you still have the proof that you can do it if someone comes to you. You're just not putting it out on your outward facing portfolio that you are doing that type of work, because that's all the leads you're going to get. From there, you should have a nice body of work that really represent your skill level and the types of work that you want more of, and then we'll gladly get paid for it. Now, this is a maker division bonus. Y'all know the creative cocktail that we teach in module 2. That's the one that it's really, that's your vibe. That's what we were really leaning at. Like Stacy's creative cocktail is all over the place. It's very botanical. It's aligned with her love of nature. I can just tell. Like, she has dogs. She's in Seattle. There was pictures of her hiking. I didn't even need to read a thing on her website to pick up her, what I call the creative cocktail. And it was, I think Irlanda is moving more towards that as well with her journey. Are we picking up your creative cocktail? I can see a lot of Latin influence in her color choices, Irlanda, and also it has that laid back SoCal vibe as well. I'm picking up on a lot of that with your work as well. That's like the bonus that we love seeing inside of Maker Division, and something that we lean into in our teachings. But if you can definitely hit the first 3, the work is up to your current level of skill. It's projects that you enjoyed working on, and you would gladly be hired for it again. Those are the projects that belong in your outward facing portfolio. And you're muted. You're still muted. Is it just me?
I'm sitting here.
Ben.
I've been muted.
Yes.
I've been muted this whole time. I didn't even know what I said. I went to sneeze. Anyway, okay. What I was saying was your portfolio is a marketing tool, and we need to use it as such. And it is not meant to be a historical documentary of every single thing that you've ever put on screen or on paper. And we need to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward and we're putting out the work that we want to attract. And that is the entire point of having a portfolio. So don't feel bad about leaving things in your shadow portfolio, or just continually removing projects from your portfolio, because it needs to be a curated experience. So put that best foot forward. I think that the two portfolios that we saw today, I mean, you guys, there was so much to bite down on, and so much incredible work that we saw from these 2 illustrators. And I think this is a good spot to end for today. Thank you so much.
The easy part about today was the work was great.
Yeah.
Work's great. Where do we go from here? They've done the hard work.
That's right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you so much for being an incredible audience. If you're interested in Maker Division, please check us out. It's makerdivision.com. And if you like this, if you want more, let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to do this. There's so many incredible websites that come through Maker Division and so many incredible portfolios that we want to showcase of the members. So let us know if you learned something below. And thanks so much for spending the time with us. All right. See you later.
Bye, guys.